Audrey Morshan, and I'm an intern here at CPH. Today I'm here with Mark Nickelbein, who's an editor in the music department, as well as a composer and a church musician. So today we're here to talk about our 2018 church or Christmas and Advent catalog. And I know it seems a bit early to start talking about Christmas music, but for the church musician, it's nearing time to start looking into pieces for the upcoming season. So Mark, can you talk to us about why church musicians start looking at Christmas music so early?
Sure. Well, it's never too early to start planning church music. I know church musicians are always busy, but usually summer time means lighter schedules, less things to prepare for. So it's a great time to get ahead on planning. And even so, Advent is only a few months away. So it's a great time to start the planning, order new music, get those schedules lined up, and get everything rolling.
Okay. So as a church musician yourself, can you talk to us about like your process for when you're preparing for Advent and Christmas?
Sure. Well, like every season, I'm always looking for quality music, and especially things that fit well with the lectionary themes for the day. So I like to work with the pastor to ensure that everything thematically will fit well with the service. With choral music, looking very carefully at the texts that they fit well. For handbell and organ or piano music, often looking to things that match the hymns of the service, and if not, that they again fit well with those same themes that work with the lectionary for the day.
Okay, so it seems like you have a lot of stuff that you're thinking about and a lot of preparation to do. So today we have 4 pieces we'd like to preview for you. And even though it's only July, I know I was listening to them and they kind of got me in the Christmas spirit already. So I'm excited to look at them. The first piece we're going to talk about is Of the Father's Love Begotten. And this is by Matthew Mockamer, and it's for 2-part choir and 4 instruments. So this setting is really pretty of the Father's Love Begotten. And one of the great things about this piece is that it is accessible for like a church choir, and it's also very musical. But can you talk to us about the background of the piece?
Sure. Yeah, it is a really accessible and beautiful piece. So this piece is part of our Concordia Children's series, and you said it's by Matthew Mockamer, who is the associate cantor at Concordia Theological Seminary in Fort Wayne, Indiana. One thing that's kind of interesting is if you look at the dedication line on the piece, it says it's dedicated to the men's choir of Trinity Lutheran Church, Traverse City, Michigan. Now that might seem kind of unusual to say this is dedicated to a men's choir. It's a Concordia Children's series piece. Well, that's because it was originally written for men's choir, and as often happens, the composer adapted it for another use. And that kind of reveals maybe a little bit of a tip that the pieces in the children's series can actually be used for other purposes as well, like men's choir or women's choir, or even a smaller mixed choir. I think many church choirs today are smaller than they were years ago. So it's definitely useful to have more repertoire available that works for smaller groups. So I guess keep that in mind, even if the cover says children's series. Don't think that it's necessarily only for children or childish. That certainly is not the case with any of our music in the children's series. So this piece, it works lovely with children, but you could consider it for other groups, any 2-part group as well.
Oh, that's really cool. I never thought about that before. But also this piece talks about incorporates the themes from O Come, O Come, Emmanuel. Can you talk to us about like where that comes in and like what effect it has on the piece?
Sure. Yeah, that's one of the really neat features of this piece. Just before the 3rd stanza, the flute starts to play the melody of O Come Emmanuel. And it plays one phrase of that hymn before the choir comes in and sings one phrase of the third stanza of the Father's love begotten. And then the flute comes back in with O Come Emmanuel, the next phrase. And they kind of go back and forth like that. So, you know, what's the connection there between the two hymns? That makes a lot of sense here. Well, if you look at the text of that stanza, it says, "This is he whom seers in old time chanted of with one accord, whom the voices of the prophets promised in their faithful word." The melody of O Come Emmanuel might bring to mind the O antiphons, which that hymn is based on. And you might think of them chanting that. So thinking of the text here, "This is he whom seers in old time chanted of with one accord." And those old antiphons certainly speak of he, of Christ. So it's kind of a neat connection here with this piece.
All right, well, thank you. So, guys, now we are going to do a preview of the piece for you. So while you're listening, you can listen for that flute and where they're doing the O Come Emmanuel section. And so you can listen to that. And then there will be a link to the piece in the comments of the video as well. Hey everyone, so we're back. So I hope you all like the last piece. So next we're going to move from this choral piece we talked about, and we're going to be moving on to a handbells piece next. So the next piece we're going to talk about is Four Christmas Hymns for 12 Bells. And this is the second set we have from Sandra Ethan for handbells. So this is the second set of handbell music we've had from her, and we featured one of these sets last year. And this is an interesting one because it only features 12 bells. So, Mark, can you talk to us about why this arrangement is really accessible for any choir?
Yeah, this concept of having 12 bells, I think, has been really popular because it's really flexible. You can use it. It requires only a small group, and while it is accessible, Sandra Ethan doesn't sacrifice um, the quality of the music. Um, with 12 bells, it can be hard to make the melody um, show throughout the piece. But she has worked it very well that you hear the melody, you hear the hymn tune um, as well as everything else in the music. So, um, yeah.
Okay, so what kind of settings can you see this collection of pieces being used in?
Of course, uh, I see it most often being used in worship. But given um, the unique format of the 12 bells, it does lend itself to some other unique uses. Um, because there are no bell changes, you don't need a table. So you could do something like Christmas caroling for handbells and go out and play some of these pieces that way. Or like take them to a nursing home or to visit shut-ins and things like that. So I think there's a lot of neat possibilities that you would do at Christmas time with these Christmas hymns.
That's neat to be able to like take it outside of the church so you can bring it other places as well. I think that's a cool feature of this piece. Would you consider the bell piece to be a good piece for like younger or more inexperienced bell ringers, or better for like more a more advanced group?
Um, the level on the pieces this is set to is all level 2 or 2 plus. In set 1, I think there's one that's level 3. Um, so you definitely could do this with inexperienced ringers if need be. I mean, you can spread it out across 12 ringers with one bell each. Um, but if a smaller but more advanced group wants to do, you could go with even less than 6 if some of your ringers want to do 4 in hand. So there's that flexibility.
All right. Okay. So we are going to play for you Infant Holy, which is one of the four tunes that's featured in this piece. So. So our next piece that we're going to be talking about is another choral piece, and this piece is by David von Kampen, and it is an a cappella piece for SATB choir, and it is called Carol of the Lamb. So the lyrics for this song are written by Lisa M. Clark. Can you talk to us about the text?
Sure. Yeah, Lisa is a colleague here at Concordia Publishing House and has been for several years now, been writing some fantastic hymn texts. I think this one is particularly unique in that it is a little bit less like a hymn and more of a Christmas carol. I think you'll see what I mean in just a moment. I'm going to read the first stanza. Little lamb, peer in the stall, see the Lamb of God for all. Wonder how this sacrifice silently will pay the price. Through the valley he will tread, up a hill to bow his head. In a garden he will rise, pastures green will be the prize. So here you're taken to the manger scene, placed there from the perspective of one of the animals there, a lamb, viewing the Christ, the Lamb of God. And you're immediately reminded of Good Friday. Silently will pay the price. Wonder how the sacrifice silently will pay the price, up a hill to bow his head. So that's not always present in Christmas hymns, that connection to Good Friday, but it's so important. Good Friday is the fulfillment of Christmas. And you're reminded of Easter, in a garden he will rise, the completion of our salvation begun here at Christmas in the incarnation. Throughout this stanza, you also may notice there's that language of Psalm 23, the great Good Shepherd psalm of the Bible. You see like through the valley and pastures green kind of echoes the words of Psalm 23. And there's more references to that in the next stanza, which I'll read now. Weary shepherd, come find rest. In a stable be a guest. Gather near your shepherd good. He can lead where no one could. Staff and rod himself will bear. Streams of life with you to share. In his house forever dwell. His unending mercies tell. So now you get the perspective of the shepherds, or any one of us. So notice how in that first line, the shepherds are then called in the third line to gather near the shepherd good. And that shepherd good is capitalized because that's Christ. Christ who bears the staff and rod. So you think of Psalm 23, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And then the streams of life, and we dwell in the house. You think of, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So overall, this is a very thoughtful and meaningful text, and it connects the story of salvation to Christmas.
It is a really, really beautiful text. And with the text, we have a really gentle and contemplative setting for the music. And what kind of service would you recommend that this be done in?
Yeah, I think what strikes me most is that it be used for Christmas Eve as generally more of a contemplative mood. But I think it could be used in any Christmas service. The video that we have is actually recorded by the a cappella choir at Concordia University, Nebraska. So they've used it for concerts too.
Okay, awesome. Well, so we are going to show you that recording now. And so I hope you enjoy it. All right, guys. So the last piece we're going to talk to you guys about today is Piano Styling Set 4, Hymns for Christmas by Valerie A. Flater. And this is for piano. So this work has a variety of different Christmas hymns. Can you tell us about a few of them that are featured?
Sure. One of the nice things about this collection is that there are um, hymns that you don't find in the myriad of all the other, piano Christmas books that are out there. Um, some of them are "All My Heart Again Rejoices," "Break Forth, O Beauteous Heavenly Light," and "Of the Father's Love Begotten." Those are pieces you don't typically find in most Christmas piano books. Um, so this may be the only place you can find some of them, along with some of the more common ones, "O Come All Ye Faithful" and "Angels We Have Heard on High."
So like a good mix of a lot of different Christmas
Yeah.
pieces. Okay. So what about the difficulty level on this one? Is this something that church musicians will be able to play relatively with some practice, or will it take a lot of work for them to get it up to speed?
Yeah, I'd consider it maybe like easy medium.
Okay.
Most of Valerie Flater's music is on the easier side to play. Um, but when I spoke with her once, she said that that's kind of her goal,
Mhm.
and she tries to throw in there like a couple measures where you have to reach for and maybe really polish or practice a bit. So that's kind of a neat thing to watch for and to work on then.
Okay. So now next we're going to go to a preview of one of the pieces we're going to show you guys, Break Forth, O Beauteous and Heavenly Light. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you all enjoyed our Advent and Christmas pieces. I think this music does a really great job reminding listeners that the Christmas season is really all about Jesus. So we have linked all of the pieces that you heard today in Mark's blog post, which is on the Concordia music page, and they're also linked in the comment sections on the video. So thanks for listening. I hope you like the pieces.